to guide, to stand quietly, to point directions, to help grieving strangers find their seats, to move crowds gently, respectfully, human to human. Among those students was a young man named Samuel. No one knew his name then. No one was asking for autographs. No one imagined movie posters or awards or legendary roles. He wore no costume, no microphone, no spotlight, just responsibility. He stood there as wave after wave of mourners passed through. He saw faces that carried exhaustion from long journeys. He heard sobs that didn't bother hiding themselves. He watched people touch the ground as if to reassure themselves that this moment was real. He guided people through the campus, through history, through grief. Every step echoed, every whisper mattered. He later recalled that the students were there simply to help people get where they needed to be. But that simple task placed him at the center of something far larger than he could have understood at the time. He watched the crowd swell into tens of thousands. He felt the weight of collective sorrow pressing down like a storm cloud that refused to move. He heard hymns sung not as performances, but as survival. This wasn't a funeral like others. This was a nation mourning its conscience. At one point, a mule-drawn wagon carried Martin Luther King Jr.'s coffin through the streets. No luxury, no armor, no distance between the people and the man they loved. Just wood, motion, and meaning. The crowd did not roar. They did not chant. They followed in silence. That silence spoke louder than any speech. Standing there, Samuel watched history unfold not on a screen, not in a textbook, but in real time. He watched hairs fall from faces that had lived through segregation, beatings, and threats. He saw young people clutch each other because they were suddenly afraid of the future. No one knew what came next. Would the movement survive? Would violence swallow hope? Would the dream die with the dreamer? For a college student tasked with guiding strangers, the questions were unanswerable. All he could do was keep moving, keep helping, keep standing. Years later, when he spoke about that day, there was no exaggeration, no attempt to elevate his role. He didn't claim importance. He didn't center himself. He simply told the truth. He was there. That's what makes the moment powerful. Not because a famous actor attended a historic event, but because before the fame, before the voice that would later command screens around the world, he was just a young man quietly serving during one of the darkest chapters in American history. Life rarely announces the moments that shape us. There was no sign that read, "This will matter later." There was no narrator saying, "Pay attention." But something settles into a person when they stand that close to history, when they witness grief on that scale, when they feel the weight of responsibility, even in a small role. It humbles you. It grounds you. It teaches you that presence matters. Years would pass, decades. The student would become an actor. The actor would become a legend, a voice instantly recognizable, a presence impossible to ignore. But long before audiences listened to him, he listened to the sound of a nation grieving. Long before cameras followed him, he followed instructions on how to guide mourners to their seats. Long before his words filled theaters, he stood silent out of respect. That contrast is what makes the story endure, because it reminds us that history is not only shaped by leaders and speeches, it is also shaped by ordinary people showing up when it matters most. A student, an usher, a witness. When Samuel L. Jackson later shared this part of his past, it wasn't a flex. It was a reflection, a reminder that he had stood at the crossroads of pain and purpose before he ever stood on a stage. And maybe that's why his performances carry weight, why his voice feels lived in, why his presence feels earned. Because once, long ago, before the world knew his name, he stood among the brokenhearted and helped them find their way, not knowing that his own path was quietly being shaped at the same time. History doesn't always choose heroes in moments of glory. Sometimes it chooses them in moments of service.